What's up, Christ-Centered Mental Health Community? This is me, David Lee Chu-Sarche, and my co-host, Joseph McDermott. We represent Christ-Centered Mental Health, the ministry where we talk about mental health awareness from a Christian perspective in order to give you real hope in God's name to the glory of God the Father. All right, before we get started on this episode, I just have a quick announcement for you. For those of you that are new to the channel, please check out the Christ-Centered Mental Health Ministry website. It's www.christcenteredmentalhealth.net. There you can have access to the On Faith and Mental Health blog. You can see our statement of faith. You can check out the Christ Mental Health Ministry store. You can find out how to contact me or someone on the team for 24-hour peer support. And you can find out how to support the ministry via Patreon, Cash App, or Venmo. All right, how you doing today, Joe?
Good.
Okay, so the topics I wanted us to talk about today is about ADD and separation anxiety, because most people don't know this about us, but we both even though we're both schizophrenic and bipolar, we also you struggle with ADD and I struggle with separation anxiety. I think it'd be best if we define our terms before we get further into this conversation. So, Joe, can you explain to us what ADD means in your own words?
I think the acronym stands for attention deficit disorder. I also was diagnosed with ADD at first. It eventually turned into hyper ADHD later on. I think they kind of combine things eventually, if I'm not mistaken. But that stands for attention attention deficit hyper disorder. I think something like that. Yeah. From my perspective, say I'm trying to pay attention in a class or some kind of environment where I have to learn and write stuff down. The teacher, professor, whoever, they're gonna say something like, I'll give you an example, the red ball went down the street. The word ball is going to trigger football things and basketball things.
So it's kind of like your mind goes down rabbit trails.
And then when I once I'm done with that, I kind of notice he said street. So I'm going to start thinking about street ball and street things and street games. Yeah. And then I have a real fast-paced mind, so when I hear these words, I kind of put him to the side and kind of want to go in my own little universe and kind of decipher my own thoughts on stuff, and I'm not even paying attention to what he's saying. So that's one aspect of it. Another thing, too, is we lose stuff every day, whether it's our keys. Now, I have a chain on my wallet now, but, or our phone or our, things like that, or a remote control. Every day we lose something like that, and it drives me nuts. And even though I have two more serious things in bipolar and schizophrenia, my ADD is just as annoying as those two other disorders.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a pretty good explanation. I guess for me, the best way I can explain separation anxiety, most people aren't it's not common. Separation anxiety is not common to be diagnosed in adults. it's usually diagnosed in children, but there are some occasions where adults have separation anxiety. And I was diagnosed with separation anxiety back when I was a teenager. But what separation anxiety is, it's when you make an attachment with someone. It could be like anybody. It could be like a mother figure, a father figure. It could be a brother or sister. Just you make an attachment to somebody, and you tend to like whenever the person gets up and leaves the room, or like they get up and leave the room to go do something. I would feel this really intense anxiety in my chest because I would get scared. I would get scared that they're gonna leave and not be able to make it back to me. Like sometimes, like for instance, my separation anxiety, like I'm really attached to my wife, and there's times where she'll go on a run or something, and I'll get really scared that something's gonna happen to her and she won't make it back home. And like it's even manifested in me having nightmares that my wife is betraying me or that she's cheating on me or like so separation anxiety is basically just an intense anxiety that where you fear that you're going to lose a significant person in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like part of my separation anxiety. Well, okay, so the next we could talk about some of the pros and cons about ADD and separation anxiety. So, what do you think are some pros to ADD?
I think some of the pros are well, a pro would be like people think ADD they automatically associate it with a slow, stupid person, but actually we're a really fast thinker. We think a little too
Yeah,
fast, and
yeah,
it doesn't automatically mean intelligence. But if you are intelligent, you can use it to your advantage, being a fast thinker and intelligent, and kind of like be more quick witted to other
yeah.
people to a certain extent and whatnot. So like the but the I would say the cons is like
We're not going there yet.
my bad.
Like,
Another
like,
pro. There's not that many pros with it to be honest, but fast thinking is a good one, but I don't know. It's hard to say because it really drives me crazy.
yeah,
I don't know. Like a pro would be when you add it to other disorders. When you go for Social Security, they kind of tend to give you what you want rather than not. So
what
it's just it
about
helps you.
I know you said this before, but I mean, I mentioned, I know you said a pro for your ADD is that you don't fall for the narrative, or that you didn't
Well,
pay attention in school, so you didn't fall for the
yeah,
narrative.
okay. Well, I kind of associate that with also like as a combination of all my disorders. Yeah, but like,
Oh,
but
okay.
like in school, I couldn't pay attention to. I wanted to be a good student. I really
Yeah,
did, but I
yeah,
really couldn't. And I was like in the classes for kids that were bad and kids that didn't do
yeah,
well in school, and they would put me in classes like that, and I ended up doing meeting them and having fun with them and going wild with them later on.
yeah,
But I wanted to be a good student, but later on as my adulthood I realized that a lot of the stuff in school was BS,
yeah,
especially science and history class. A lot of that was BS, so
yeah,
so
yeah,
so I'm glad that I didn't go to college and like graduate there and become some atheist and get a good job. I'd rather have the life I have now because if I didn't have this path, maybe I wouldn't have became born again.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, I think a pro for my separation anxiety, like you said, there's not very many pros to this. Like, cause like you said, like kind of like you, how you said ADD annoys you. My separation anxiety annoys me too. But if I could think of a pro for separation anxiety, I guess it's caused me to develop relationships a lot easier than most people. Like, yeah, that would be a pro. Like, I'm able to get closer to people because I actually care about the relationship, and Yeah, so I guess that would be a pro because it causes me to develop closer relationships with people. So
Right.
that would be the only pro I could think of for separation anxiety. So what are some cons for ADHD?
Well, the racing thoughts is very annoying. It's very
Yeah,
bad because I don't know. It's like it's just when it's if you're not interested in something, it is literally impossible to pay attention to something. Like, when we talk
yeah,
about Christianity or the Bible, I have the Holy Spirit, so that overrides my mental disorders. I'm able to pay attention to that. When it comes
yeah,
to subjects that I like I'm really intrigued by true crime. I used to be a petty theft or like a petty thug myself, not really a real criminal, but I did a little here and there
yeah,
in the street, and so like I'm interested in street lore and gang lore and mafia lore and stuff.
yeah,
So if you talk about stuff like that, or if I hear one of those former guys talk about their life and stuff, I'll be able to pay attention. But if you're talking about something like Brussels sprouts or something and why they grow, if you're talking about Star Wars or something, I don't care for that either. Or like Lord of the Rings,
yeah,
you're gonna talking to me, and I'm gonna be like, you're gonna say something like Vandaldorf or something. I'm gonna be like, well, that sounds kind of like my friend Alan Morph, and he was a good guy, and I wonder what he's up to. I'm gonna start going
yeah,
off on a track like that.
yeah,
So it's just so it's like I can't I people like they expect me to read something or pay attention to a movie, something like that, and I'm like, sorry,
yeah,
I couldn't.
yeah.
I tried to, but
Yeah,
so
so in other words, the topic has to be
intrigue
very
me, right? I
intriguing
can't.
to
Yeah,
you.
yeah, it has to
Yeah,
intrigue me.
yeah. No, I get that. I think all of us, to a certain extent, is like that. Where some like, because I know me personally, like if something's not super intriguing to me, I tend to get wandering thoughts too. Like, I mean, it's not to the same extent as what you go through, but I can identify with what you said.
Right.
Like, but I think a con for my separation anxiety, like yeah, even though it has made it easier for me to develop relationships easier, I in the past it has caused me a lot of headaches in relationships because I would get super clingy, and like I'd want to always be around the person all the time. I would um I would feel all anxious when I was around. Like it really started when I was in juvenile detention. Like there was a couple of female staff members that I like looked up to like mother figures, and like one time like a staff member she no longer worked with me. She left the facility, and I got so depressed and so angry that she left that I carved her name into my right thigh with a yeah. So like yeah, my separation anxiety, like in my relationships as an adult, it's caused me like I remember there was times where I would skip classes in college just so I could be around my girlfriends to make sure they didn't cheat on me. So like it's like my separation. Like here's okay. So here's another question: in what ways has your ADHD or ADD either improved or gotten worse over time?
I've struggled with this since about fourth grade, I would assume, because before fourth grade, I was actually an A and B student,
Yeah,
but then as time went on, it went from C's, then D's, then pretty much F's. Then I dropped out.
yeah.
Uh, but what was the question again? I forgot. Like, sorry.
In in what ways has your ADHD either
Oh,
improved or got worse over time?
um, I think it's about the same. The thing that got worse was my memory, and that kind of goes hand in hand with ADD. So
Yeah,
I think my memory got worse throughout the years, but my ADD's been always about the same. I can
Yeah,
control it somewhat. Like it's not like it's just that it catches me off guard in times when it's um I don't want to say inappropriate, but inconvenience. Inconvenience is the
yeah,
word. Like so like like especially if it like my attention span as well is pretty short. So if I'm going through a lecture, I'm gonna get about 15 minutes out of it, and the rest of it's out of there. It's not even in my head. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It makes sense. Yeah, like so you wouldn't like want to like would you if the lecture was something you were passionate about, would it make it easier for you to remember it?
Yeah. Well, if it's about Jesus, I can remember it pretty well.
Yeah,
Secondary issues, like I have a trouble with it a little bit, but if
yeah.
certain things, are
So like,
secondary
so
issues
like
are fine. But
sermons are easy for you to remember.
I like sermons. Yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
depends, but sometimes when they're mundane and kind of like monotone and stuff, it's kind of hard for me to remember them. But that's why I kind of prefer certain pastors that are Baptists because I like when they get lively and stuff and
oh,
kind
you
of
like that? You like that hellfire and brimstone type
yeah,
preaching?
I kind of like that. Sometimes I don't like
Mm.
it when they go a little too much with that, but I want to hear it every now and then. So yeah, so I like
Yeah,
that.
that makes sense. In what ways has my separation anxiety either gotten better or worse over time? Well, I would say over time, my separation anxiety has gotten better. Like as I've gotten older, I've become more independent, and like I don't like I'm not the same clingy guy that I was 20 years or no, like probably like a decade ago. Like I've grown more. Like I still get nervous when my wife goes on her runs, like worry that something bad may happen to her. But in those moments, I just pray a prayer of protection over her, and like I pray it like multiple times that God will protect her. Like I don't know. No, I just I haven't had the dreams that my wife is betraying me or cheating on me. I haven't had those dreams in a while. So so I would say my separation anxiety has. I mean, it's still around, but it's not as intense. If that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think that when you grow in your faith, it makes it easier to overcome all of this stuff. Like
Yeah. Exactly.
so if it wasn't for my faith in God and my medication, I know for certain I would be in a place I wouldn't want to be right now. I'd probably be dead. I'd probably be,
Oh yeah,
so
I can relate. I can relate to that because if it wasn't for Jesus Christ and my medication, I'd probably either be in jail or like adult prison, or I'd be in a mental asylum. Like
yeah.
or like so, I'm thankful to the Lord that He saved me when He did, and that He helped me find the right medications that keep me balanced. And that's the thing. A lot of people, I know you know this, but a lot of Christians have such negative opinions about psychiatric medications.
Yeah.
Like it's kind
Yeah,
of
like
sad. Like these same Christians that will talk about pharmakeia, I guarantee you, if they had a headache, what's the first thing you're gonna do? Take a headache pill, right? Like an Advil. Like, so what about what isn't that pharmakeia too? Like, it's just and like when they bring that up, pharmakeia, I'm like, do you realize that one of the traveling companions of Paul was a doctor named Luke? And I'm pretty sure Luke prescribed medications to the people he helped.
yeah.
And
Like
even
I have put myself in a very small box because not only am I a Christian, that kind of separates me from the rest of society in a lot of ways.
yeah,
I also am, and that puts me in a box, right? And then I'm in a smaller box because I'm pro psychology and pro psychology. A
Yeah,
lot of Christians are not, so I'm on the fringe there. And I'm
yeah,
also the type to not really get very political and vote and stuff like that. I don't associate myself with that stuff anymore, and so that puts me in an even smaller box. So I'm really like I feel very lonely in some ways because
yeah.
it's just
That
but
definitely is.
the thing
We
it's like
definitely us mentally ill Christians. We definitely are a small minority within the Christian world. Like, well, I don't know. Well, I take that back. Mental illness is actually very common, but most Christians, it seems like, don't want to acknowledge mental illness.
I've known Christians who are mentally ill who are
Yeah,
anti psychology. Like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I knew this one guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but man, I could tell he needed some help some way, somehow. I tried with him, but he was anti-medication. He said he used to take it, but he was going a little cuckoo, and but oh well.
we also, yeah, like it's definitely, yeah. I really do. My heart breaks for Christians with mental illness who have been fed lies about psychology and psychiatry, like, or they've been fed lies from charlatans who have told them that they can be healed of their mental illness. Like, it's sad. Like, I don't like it. Like, when I see Christians with mental illness that say this stuff, all I can think is, man, you're being duped.
It's not going to cure you. It just kind of patches you up so you can live with it. It's not no. There's no escaping this. It's a part of you. You know.
Exactly. It's a part of you until the day the Lord returns, or you
Amen.
die, whichever comes first.
Yeah.
Like that, like see, and like I was gonna say about Luke being a doctor. I like okay. So in First or Second Timothy, Paul tells Timothy to drink a little bit of wine for his stomach ailments. That's a medicinal prescription, and I'm pretty sure Paul got that idea from the Luke, who was a doctor. So like this whole I mean I can't prove that definitively, but that's just my own belief. But like it's like these people that talk about pharmakeia being evil, like I don't think they really know what they're talking about.
I think what the scriptures were talking about as far as were drugs that alter your mind, as far as like
Yeah,
having fun, like mushrooms,
exactly.
acid,
And
heroin.
psychiatric medications doesn't alter your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we'll go ahead and go to the videos now. So I have two videos on ADD and separation anxiety. We'll just go down the line. All right, can you see it? Oh wait,
Yeah.
hold on. Like,
I saw that title. I was like, my doctors won't even give me any. I want to start ADHD medication, but they won't even give me any.
all right, can you see it?
Yeah, it says R. It's rated R. You might know
Yeah.
what for audience.
Can you hear it? Can you hear it?
Yeah,
Uh,
Ramsey.
Let's go to, is it Judea? Judea?
Okay.
Judea. Judea. In Oklahoma. In Oakland, California. Judea, I'm struggling with the old reading today.
can you
Sorry
still
about
hear it?
Yeah.
that. How are you?
No worries. I'm great. How are you?
Excellent. Okay, say it for me. Judea.
Judea.
What's the origin of that name? It's beautiful.
Thank you. It's a Jewish name.
Yes.
You can find it in the Bible, actually, in a Christmas story.
Oh my gosh, that was a great flex. Where's your name from? The Bible. Well done. I'm from Scripture. Where are you from? My name is another term for toilet. So thanks for bringing that up, Judea. Much appreciated.
It's in the Bible too, dummy.
Yeah, no, John's in the Bible too. That's what I thought was funny.
All right, so what's up? How can I help?
I've had attention issues ever since I can remember.
I have no idea what that's like. Continue. Oh, man. Okay, so tell me about them.
So it was a really big stressor in my and my family's life all growing up, and I feel like it still haunts me to this day. I'm now an adult with my dream job, and I'm struggling harder than ever to keep up with my coworkers. My current therapist suggests I consider medication or seeking a diagnosis for something like adult ADHD, but I'm afraid it will hurt me. I wanted to get a second opinion, but it's still something that I'm open to.
Is that a concern that you have about starting ADHD medication? Do you think it will hurt you if you started?
No, I want to take it, but they don't give me any.
Why won't they give it to you?
They think since I'm schizoaffective, I'll manic on it and go crazy, so they refuse to give me any.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
I like when I was going for peer support class, I wanted to take some so I could take the class better, and I barely passed the last final test, barely passed it.
Really?
So I guess I didn't need it, but still, I could have used it still.
Yeah, exactly.
Considering.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you say you've got attention challenges, tell me what that means. Paint me a real picture of what that looks like.
That means I'll start on a task or I'll start trying to listen to something, for example, like when I was a kid in class, I'd maybe listen for about 5 minutes and then
you were gone.
I feel like something would, then I was gone. Something would be difficult and my mind would just wander.
Yep.
I never really had the hyperactivity issue, but I could sit there and look like I was paying attention.
Yeah.
But
that's common with
that sounds similar to what you were talking about earlier.
That's why I thought I didn't have ADHD, because I thought I was similar to this woman. I don't fidget around all the time, and I knew this one guy who had ADHD, and I noticed he was always moving around and stuff, and I was like, well, I think because I have ADD, it's that's the difference. I can sit still and everything. My mind is
It's just that your mind will wander off to different topics. Yeah.
Especially young girls. They look like they are plugged in and their minds are off to the races. Boys, and again, I don't unnecessarily gender it, but the data tells me boys will bang their heads on things, but girls can be equally out too. Have you, over the course of your lifetime or working with your counselor, have you identified some places where your brain checks out for you?
I think a few, mostly with
That's
academic.
a good question. How would you answer that? Can you identify some places where your brain checks out for you?
Identify some place where my brain checks out for me.
Yeah, can you identify some places where your brain checks out?
Oh, when I'm paying, school is one of them, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's definitely a movie thing too. If a movie doesn't grasp my attention right away, it's hard for me to if someone tells me oh, this movie doesn't get good until the middle, I'm gonna have to watch the middle, and then I'll watch the beginning and the end, because I can't watch the beginning part because it's gonna be I won't be able to, it's impossible for me. So
yeah.
So I don't know, but
that makes sense.
I don't know. It's just life in general. I can do, my attention span allows me to do most stuff, but if it takes a long time, I tend to if it's a project I'm doing on my own, I'll be dedicated, I'll be into it at first, and then I'll take a break, and then all of a sudden I don't want to fucking, I'm going to start with effort, but I don't want to do it anymore. And, it's just how it is. It's a daily struggle,
Yeah, no, I understand.
Academic type pursuits. So when I'm trying to learn a new skill at work or something that seems really complicated, it's as if I just say, I'm out, I can't do this.
Okay. What is your brain protecting you from there?
Yeah, that's a good question too. He asked, Like, what is your brain protecting you from?
He's gonna have to rephrase that.
You
I don't know what he
rephrase
means
that?
by protect. I don't know if it's protecting me. I think it's what is it? A self-defensive mechanism or something? I don't know what he means by that. Like,
Yeah. Well, maybe hold on. Let's see if he explains.
I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I definitely have a fear of failure. I've been working really hard on that.
Where does that come from? Who gave you that?
I don't.
Oh, that's like. Do you think do you think that your ADHD is like trying to prevent you from failing? That's a good thought.
it's not that. You mean like trying new stuff because I'm gonna fail?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, maybe a little bit, but I don't know. I was thinking about maybe getting into video editing, but AI kind of Oh, sorry with that but AI kind of made that kind of like obsolete with people. I just want. I don't know. I don't want a job that's complicated at all. I think this woman, with what the difference between me and this woman is, she's trying to be ambiguous and get a good career going. Like I always was happy with a job that wasn't very complicated and paid minimum wage. Like I always was okay
You
with
want you want like the easiest job possible, whereas
Yeah, I
she's
want an
trying to
easy
go.
job where it's stress free and the people are nice. I don't care if it's minimum wage. If it's like that, sign me up. You know, I'll work 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
Oh no. I wouldn't say my family is super perfectionistic, but my mom was really hard on herself when she was growing up to make sure that she got good grades. And I think because she came from kind of a difficult situation, I think she was always worried that the same would happen to me. But if I wasn't able to pay attention and do well in school, then I wouldn't be able to get a good job.
Feminism ruins everything.
Yeah. We're not gonna get political though.
I'm just joking.
As an adult.
How was your parents' marriage growing up?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
They were always, they gave me a really good picture of what a great marriage should be like.
Awesome.
So
what about brothers
in my
and
dating
sisters?
life now, I look for people who are kind like my dad is.
Awesome. What about brothers and sisters?
I've got a younger brother, and he tells me that he's had some attention issues too.
Yeah. So you may have heard this show. I think we did a whole episode on this maybe a year and a half ago or so. Gabor Mate, Mate, wrote a book. I think it's called Scattered. I think that's it. Is that it? It's what I consider the masterpiece on ADHD, attention challenges. And so before I did anything, I would read that book. And when I say it's a masterpiece, I mean I sat there and wept through the book, and then I gave it to my wife because I hadn't had my life peeled back, and I've read, you name it, I've read every book on ADHD, just trying to figure out where is this. Often, it stems from some sort of childhood chaos.
What do you think about that?
Well, maybe, but I think it has to do with I don't know. I never thought of it like that, but if that was true, wouldn't there be more cases of ADD than there is? I mean, I think it's just something that your brain does because it's hereditary and you know, there's people throughout my family, whatever they went through, they have ADD. You know, like we're just really constant fast thinkers. You know, so
yeah.
But I think it's hereditary more than a tragedy. I think tragedies mental disorders and personality flaws that stem from tragedies. I don't think ADD qualifies from that. I just don't. I mean, I could be wrong, but
it would be interesting to see what are the statistics that say how many people have ADHD compared to the rest of the population?
Yeah.
Mm,
I don't know. Like I never studied this like to that extent. I just would think I just never really associated ADD. It's like a learning disorder that kids have. You could be rich, you could have a great life, you could have a great family. I think families like kids still struggle with this in some aspect, no matter what their life.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Or some sort of trying to connect relationally. Go ahead.
There was a period of time right after 9/11, I think in the years following, where my mom was military. So there was kind of this, she was reserves, but there was kind of this understanding that there could be a time when mom will get called to go overseas. And I think that might have had something to do with it.
Well,
I think maybe I would,
absorb
I
some of
was
that.
really little when they kind of showed the attacks over television. So as a little kid, as anyone at that time, that's really traumatic.
Yeah, and they've even
And then
traced
knowing that-
some of this back to maternal stress, like prenatally, like when somebody's pregnant. So if your mom's in the military and she's pregnant, or she's trying to figure out what she's going to do, there's so much there.
Did you hear that?
Say again?
He said there's been evidence that ADHD has gone back to before the baby was born.
Okay.
There was a lot of stress on the pregnant mother. It could cause there's a link between that and ADHD.
I'll have to ask my mother if she was under a lot of stress when I was possibly, knowing she's married to my dad. So
yeah.
That all I have to say is this: often the attention issues are a result of your body trying to make sense of chaos. And I live with this every single day of my life. And so I'm speaking as to somebody. You and I are in the same club here. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to medication, but when it comes to ADHD, man, I want to see somebody go to the ends of the earth. And so whenever, mainly because you get on a stimulant track and there's no way off. The only move is to increase stimulants for the rest of your life. And the downstream effects of some of those things are dramatic.
And that's what I'm afraid of.
I see his point that you have to be really careful before you just jump right in and take medications. Not all medications is beneficial. So you have to work with your psychiatrist.
Well, I hate to sound like this, but I remember one time I did a stimulant, a legal one, and I could pay attention for the first time in my life. I did not have racing thoughts. I could focus on what people were talking about, and I could just chill. And it was the first time in my life that I felt normal. It was incredible. Yeah. I wanted to feel that way again, but the way this guy makes it sounds like it wears off after a while, and you have to increase the dosage just to keep the medication working. And if that's the case, maybe it's good that I never did get on it. So
yeah, like that's the problem with some medication is eventually the effect your body gets used to it, and you have to get a med adjustment. So based off of that, I can see where he's coming from, but at the same time, I wouldn't discourage someone from not taking I wouldn't discourage someone from taking medication. Like we said earlier, like we thank God for our medications because without them, we'd either be in prison or dead.
I think what he said though was it's when it comes to ADD medications, it's like a stimulant based one, and maybe not so much good for you. But I don't know if he's anti-medication altogether. But
I don't think he's anti-medication. I watched some of his other videos. I don't think he's anti-medication.
Yeah, so I think maybe when it comes to ADD though, maybe because he's ADD himself. So I don't know. I just know stimulants do work. It's just that if they're addictive and you have to increase the dosage just to make it work, that's not exactly. You can get a heart attack eventually, you know. So
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
It also feels like that I've tried everything else. I feel like I've tried changing my diet. I've tried just trying to white knuckle it through times when I'm having a hard time paying attention.
What brings you peace?
I think knowing that I'm capable of accomplishing the task at hand, or knowing that I'm capable of taking care of myself.
Nope, not
That's a good answer. But how would you answer that question? What brings you peace, Joe?
well, Lord Jesus Christ, baby.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
That's what brings me peace.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have any, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
that. What brings you peace? Are you dating somebody now?
Yeah.
Do you like them?
Yeah.
Like you like them, or just like eh?
I like him quite a bit. And
Okay.
So far it's been a very good relationship.
How long?
Really only about 8 months, so it's still kind of in the beginning stages.
That's 1,000 years in dating world these days, so good for you. So
Thank you.
is there moments when y'all are together and he's either holding you or you're holding hands and your feet are propped up and your body goes,
Yeah.
off, and I'm not
do
speaking this into your life, okay? I hear this often, that people who struggle with attention issues, with ADHD, with some sort of, I'll just say that with the ADD world, can be a ping pong relationally, whether it's with multiple partners, multiple people, multiple relationships, depth of relationship, because there's something about connection with somebody else that makes everything go, all right, we're okay. And it's a brain trying to solve for connection desperately. And
that's interesting. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've learned that I can only tolerate so much. So there have been people in my past that I had to cut loose. I had to, you know. Now I will always stand with my mother. Anybody else in my family that causes hell in my life, I can't have them around. Period.
Yeah.
I got to look out for myself too, you know.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of relationships in the past, but I've learned to kind of prune the tree, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
I've learned to, like, you know, if I'm not getting gratification, if I'm not getting anything out of this relationship, what's the point of me being in it? Why should I do it for their sake when I feel like garbage whenever I'm around them, you know?
Yeah.
What's the point? So,
like,
well,
even Jesus said, if a town will not accept you, shake the dust off your feet.
Amen.
Yeah.
So
like, I understand, because like I haven't talked to my father in about a year, and I feel so much more at peace. Like so sometimes you gotta let go of toxic people.
yeah, I know some people might think we're contradicting the Ten Commandments here, but look my father put me through the ringer, and
Wow.
I've never really felt too much love from him at all ever in my life. You know, it's just,
well, the thing is, people don't understand. Like, when the scripture says honor your father and mother, it does not mean you keep them in your life if they're toxic. Like, I can honor my dad by praying for him and by not saying anything negative about him.
yeah. I mean, in deep down, I do still love my father, but for various reasons, I can't be around him.
Yeah, exactly.
If I see him up above, hallelujah. But as far as my earthly life, I gotta cut corners. I just have to.
Yeah, no, I understand.
some people solve for connection through perfectionism. I will score my way into your heart. I will prove or earn my way into good relationship with you. The same exact thing, just the other side of the equation.
Do you find yourself, because of your ADHD, that you're trying to find your way into, like, basically into someone's heart? Like, you're trying to, like, earn their love?
Well, I did for a long time. I wanted to be. I mean, my number one goal in life as a secularist and a Christian was to find a woman. I did not want to be alone all my life, you know, and I was alone pretty much a good chunk of my life. I never really had a serious relationship. I had some flings here and there, but I never really had a woman to call my own truly, and I always wanted that. I have that now, praise the Lord. But
Yeah.
for the longest time, I didn't have that. But now I'm satisfied as far as that goes, you know. But,
Yeah.
you know, for the longest time, I was like I would get so jealous seeing other couples, or when my friends had women and they would neglect them and cheat on them. And I'll just tell myself, I would never do that to my woman, and I'm alone. Why is that? You know, and
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
Is I will burn this down so you will see me. Drugs help. Is it ringing true what I'm saying? Maybe not.
Yeah, I'm definitely more the I will score my way into someone else's heart type person.
Gotcha. And so and I'm the same. So I got 2 PhDs, not because I'm smart, but because I was on this continual treadmill to prove to the world and to myself and to a few people who didn't know I was trying to prove myself to them that I was capable and smart and blah, blah, blah. This was, I mean, now I'm celebrated for it. I got a job because of it, but it was purely running tactics for me. And it was chasing. And it's when I was able to settle into an actual relationship. And by the way, I was married for 10 years before I figured this out.
Really?
And then I had to practice, what does being in a relationship mean? Not that my marriage is fine. I didn't know how to accept love. I didn't know how to accept peace. I didn't know how to accept calm. I didn't know what that was. And calm felt like quitting. Calm felt like less than. Peace felt like, well, you could be doing this. And so I was always spun up.
Right, that's enough of that. What do you think about that video?
I think he got off course a little at the end, but
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. As far as it being as far as a tragedy, I don't know how much truth there is to that. I would have to look into it. But as far as I'm skeptical right now, because I think people who have lives that aren't so chaotic, maybe their attention is better than someone who has a chaotic life with ADD. But I think it affects people no matter what poverty level you're at.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know too much about ADHD, so I'm just going based off of what you say and what he said. It's interesting though. What if maybe it came from some kind of family chaos? Like, it is interesting to say the least.
Yeah.
All right. So the next video we're gonna listen to. We're gonna go to. Here's a good video. All right, we're gonna switch gears a little bit. As you can tell, this video is titled 8 Signs You're an Adult Suffering from Separation Anxiety. So I haven't watched this video, but so people are gonna get my raw reactions to this.
Anxiety is more common in adults than it is in
Do
children.
you hear it?
Yeah.
I'm going to explain what causes it and what it looks like in children and adults. I'm Dr. Tracy Marks, a psychiatrist, and I make mental health education videos. Separation anxiety goes beyond a child missing their parent. Stranger anxiety is a normal phase of development, but children grow out of it between 18 months and 2 years of age. And if it continues past that point, it becomes a disorder. Here are 8 signs of separation anxiety that correspond to the criteria in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. Number 1, you're excessively distressed when you anticipate or experience separating from home
Yeah,
or important
that's true. I like how she worded that. You're excessively distressed and you anticipate or experience separating from home or important attachment figures. That right there is the key figure of separation anxiety. Whenever I feel like the person I'm attached to is separated from me, I tend to get really distressed and anxious until they come back and then I'm around them again. Then I'm no longer feeling distressed.
Does this happen with only people that you genuinely care for? Or does this happen with pretty much everybody?
No, it's only people that I genuinely care for.
Okay.
Yeah.
attachment figures. As an adult, your attachment figures can be your partner, your children, parents, or even close friends. It's normal to miss someone or pine for them in their absence. But with this sign, you may have intense anxiety and worry. For example, let's say your spouse travels every month for work. You may have a really bad 3 to 4 days each month before the trips where you fret, cry, or have trouble sleeping and eating.
I get that. Like that is so true. Like when I recently, not recently, I think it was, yeah, it was earlier in the year. Like I think it was like in July. My wife went out to Wisconsin for a family thing, and the whole time she was only gone for a couple days, but during those couple days were some of the worst times I had. I mean, like it wasn't so bad when I was talking to her on the phone, but when I wasn't talking to her on the phone, I was fretting, I was worrying, I was hoping she'd be able to come back home safely. Like,
Wow.
yeah.
2, you always fear something bad happening to the person, like them getting into a car accident or dying from an illness. And it may not be that you only worry about this when they aren't in your presence, like a spouse traveling for work. You can be working from home with them, sitting side by side every day, but then you still have these days where you wake up with a sick feeling, like a premonition that your partner is going to die.
I never.
Republican Derek Merritt is running in Ohio and pushing one of the most extreme abortion bans, with no exception for
Yeah,
rape,
I'm really
incest,
missing the
or life
original
of the mother.
creator.
Even
I'm
after
really
Ohioans
missing it.
last year
I'm
voted
missing
against
it.
this, he said we will not give
Part
up.
of this
Do
lady.
not
What
vote for
happened to that
Derek
other
Merritt. He
lady?
will not protect your rights.
Yeah.
Number 3,
Okay,
you worry
like I
about
was saying,
something
like
happening.
I never experienced intense worrying when me and my wife are in the same room. Like it's mainly like when we're separated, I experience intense anxiety. But even but the whole thing about worrying about a loved one being harmed, I even sometimes worry about that about my sisters. That something tragic might happen to my sisters. Like if I go a long time without talking to my sisters, I tend to get stressed out, worried if they're okay, and so at this point,
Yeah,
you're worried about something.
I can imagine parents go through this when their kids are maybe I don't know, at a war perhaps, or
Yeah,
so.
that's true. Yeah.
To you that would pull you away from your loved one. You may drive to the grocery store and worry about someone abducting you in the parking lot before you can get home.
Now
I use this
that's something I never experienced. I never worried that something would happen to me to pull me away from my significant other. So that's new to me. I never thought about it that way, that people with separation anxiety would worry that something would happen to themselves that'll take them away from their loved one. That's something new to me. I never heard of that before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
example, because the harmful thing that you worry about isn't always something typical like the possibility of a car accident. You can concoct any scenario that can separate you, like having a sudden fugue state where you get confused and travel somewhere and not be able to remember who you are. If that did happen to you, you'd have a bigger problem than being separated. But you're not concerned with what a dramatic incident like that says about your health. Your concern is about something happening to you that makes you unable to get back to your loved one. Number 4, you refuse to go to essential places like school or work, or reluctant to leave home because of the separation.
Yeah, I've done that before. Like there was times when I was in college, and I was like with my girlfriend in the lounge area. I would refuse to leave the lounge area to go to my class because I wanted to be around my girlfriend. Like, and because of that, I ended up like I did good in most of my classes, but some of my classes, because I wouldn't show up, I ended up failing the class because I was so busy wanting to be around my girlfriend, and then I didn't want to separate from her. Oh, like there was one time there was this one girl. I wasn't even dating her. I was really like interested in her, and I wanted to win her over. I did get attached to her. We weren't dating, but I did get attached to her. And it got so bad that I pretty much stalked her around the college. It was like I'm embarrassed to admit that now, but back yeah, like I literally stalked her around the college because I was so enamored by her.
Well, I know it's not easy to admit that, so I admire that you're brave enough to admit that.
Yeah, thank you.
At least with the person who worries about falling into a fugue state, they allow themselves to at least venture out alone. They're anxious when they go out unaccompanied, but they still do it. With this symptom, you won't go anywhere alone. You always need someone to go with you. A mother who always has her kids with her can hide this symptom for years until the children grow up and don't go out.
I get where she's coming from with that. This is an example of how my separation anxiety has gotten better over the years. Because yeah, when I was younger, I didn't want to go anywhere alone. I always wanted someone to be with me. Like if I went to the movie theater, I'd want someone to be there with me. If I went to a restaurant, I want someone to be there with me. I mean, even like when I was with my ex, we would literally do everything down to the point where we'd use the same public restroom together. Like we'd always go into the family bathroom at stores. It was very unhealthy, but but as I've gotten older and more mature in the faith and more secure with myself, that's stuff. Like now I can go to restaurants by myself. Now I can go to the movie theater by myself. Now I can use the bathroom by myself. This stuff sounds like pretty basic stuff, but when you have separation anxiety, this stuff is like these different improvements are monumental.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, like you always got to make progress no matter what disorder you have. So that's a you gotta keep on trucking.
Yeah, exactly.
With her all the time anymore. And not having children available can unmask this anxiety that wasn't apparent before because mom always had her kids. Another way this can look is the person who won't get a job unless they can work from home. Pre-pandemic, that requirement was pretty limiting. And if that was you, you could just end up not working. And you probably wouldn't say to yourself, I'm not working because I can't manage without my family with me. That's the real reason, but that's not acceptable for a grown person to remain unemployed because they can't tolerate separation. So instead, you tell yourself that the job just never seems to feel right, or the environment feels toxic. You rationalize that it's the job and not you.
Yeah, I kind of understand that because like when I was living in New Jersey and I was with my ex, like there was times I try to get jobs, but because I was so anxious to be away from her, I would quit the job after the first day just so I didn't like risk losing her. Like it was pretty pathetic. Like I remember one time she was in the hospital because of a bowel obstruction, and I had to go to work at McDonald's. But I was afraid of losing. I was afraid that something might bad happen to her when she's in the hospital. So I wanted to stay around her 24/7. So I ended up skipping the job. There's other stories like that. where I refuse. I'll come up with all these rationalizations to not do something just so I can stay around my significant other.
This kind of reminds me of paranoia a little bit. Like
Yeah,
sometimes when my fiance, like I'll wake up late in the like I'll wake up around I don't know 10, and she's already up, and she's like, "I'm gonna go to the store," and I'll be like, "Okay, go yourself," because I'm just waking up. I haven't taken a shower. I don't feel like going outside. And like after a while, I'll be like, "Oh, what if something happens to her? What if I
yeah,
start thinking like thoughts and stuff." And I can kind of relate to this a little bit.
yeah. Well, it's actually like I think everybody suffers with a little separation anxiety. I mean, it may not be as intense as my separation anxiety, but I think everybody who's in a relationship with someone experience at least a little bit separation anxiety. If you don't celebrate even a little bit of separation anxiety, then you're probably a heartless person.
Right.
I mean,
But now, post pandemic, when many companies are allowing people to work from home, this sign is easy to mask or accommodate because there's more opportunities to stay home. Number 5, you're afraid to be alone without attachment figures in the home or with you.
this
This is
is something like, yeah, like there's times even to this day that I am kind of afraid to be in my home alone without my wife. Like I'm not. Well, it's not really fear, but I guess I just it's a fear of being alone. Like I don't like to be alone. Like and I mean, over time, it's gotten better. Like I've become more over time, I've become more comfortable with being alone. But it would be a lie if I said I'm completely 100% fine with being alone, because I'm not. There's times where being alone does scare me.
Yeah, because the thing is, though, like when you isolate yourself, you start thinking things you shouldn't think, and like
Yeah,
you need people to snap you out of your mental state sometimes. And but
exactly.
like to me, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like this. Thank God, I've met some really good people in my life. Like you, my fiance, and whatnot. But like throughout my life, my friends and like certain people I knew, other than that, like they just weren't good people. And like
Yeah,
it's hard for me to trust anybody. I'm a very trusting person, but still like I'm very weary at the same time. And like like I just like I do value my alone time. See, that's one thing I can differ from this is like I do like to be I like to be alone with my just be on the internet or like video games and just be by myself and be away from the world because I've been burned so much.
yeah, I get that. Over time, I become more comfortable with being alone because nowadays, like you have your video games, you have your internet. Like nowadays, the way I cope with being alone is I just throw myself into my books. I just like when I read, like it distracts my mind from whatever I'm worrying about, because I'm focusing on the words on the page. So that's
Yeah.
like, or if I'm really, if books aren't doing it, then I'll just put on a movie, like a funny movie or something, just to, like take my mind off of whatever I'm worried about. Those are
Right.
some things I do. Like,
Right.
a little different from number 4. With 4, you wouldn't leave your home or go places that you needed to go unless someone was with you. But with this sign, you need someone at home with you. So even if you got a work from home job, you still need to have someone at home with you. Or if you were invited to a barbecue at a friend's home, you'd need to be accompanied by someone in your inner circle.
yeah, that's a good point. Like, there's times, okay, like my sisters don't know this, but there's times where they'll invite me over. Like before I met my wife, they would invite me over to their place for like Christmas dinners or something like that. And like I felt so alone when I was around them. And nowadays, like after being married, like the only time I really want to go on a get together is if my wife can come with me. Like I don't want to go to a get together by myself. Like there's times where like for instance my pastor would invite, like there was one time my pastor invited the whole church over to our place and for like a game night or whatever, and my wife couldn't go because she was working, so I just said I don't want to go too because I don't want to go there without my wife.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was single, I loved mingling with people I didn't never met before because it got me away from the mundane and everyday stuff I was doing, and I could meet new people. And like I'm a bit of a chameleon, anyways. I can relate to a little bit of anybody, so so I don't have to worry about that so much. But I don't know. I always like to go somewhere new and meet new people because I always felt that was an opportunity for me to perhaps get married or
Yeah,
meet a social group that's actually good people rather than the people I'm used to. So
yeah.
I always liked going new places and meeting new people myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like to meet new people too, but like at the same time though, I don't like to like I don't know, I get kind of nervous to be around people that I'm not close to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
even though you're visiting someone familiar to you. Number 6, you won't sleep away from home or go to sleep without having your attachment figure nearby. And this can be a problem if you have to travel for work. Another example is not being able to go to sleep until your partner comes to bed. And this can
Uh,
really cramp.
I can't really relate to that because if I'm tired, I will go to sleep no matter what. Like so, my wife can be not in the home. She could be on she could possibly go on like a trip somewhere, and I'll still sleep. I'll still sleep like without her though. So I can't really relate to this one.
Yeah.
Your style if you have different sleep schedules. Let's say you're the one with separation anxiety and you like to go to bed around 10 p.m. Your spouse likes to stay up and watch movies until midnight. You don't like watching horror flicks right before bed, so your spouse has to lie in bed with you in the dark without the television on until you fall asleep.
We've got passion, we've got determination. Like, and if we set our sights on something, you better believe it's happening.
Number
What
7,
did you say?
you have
I laugh because like that sounds a bit demanding of the person. It's like you have to lie in with me, in bed with me. Like
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing with those of us with separation anxiety. We do get kind of demanding on our significant others. Like,
current nightmares about the theme of being separated. With these dreams, the separation theme can be obvious, like you or your loved one dies. Or it can be disguised, like you bought tickets for a basketball game and you find out when you get the tickets that the seats aren't together. And number 8 is you experience distressing physical symptoms like headaches, stomach aches, nausea, or vomiting.
yeah, when I was younger, if my separation anxiety was really bad, I would get pretty nauseous or I would get headaches. But I never vomited or had stomach aches when I was younger. But I did get headaches and I did feel nauseous if my anxiety was really bad.
so there's a connection with the physical as well as the psychological.
Exactly, yeah.
Just from anticipating the separation. For a diagnosis of separation anxiety disorder, you need at least 3 of those signs that last at least 6 months. So this is something that can come and go. It can start in childhood and never leave, or appear for the first time in late teens or early adulthood. Young children may not want to go to school or even sleep in their own beds. Older children may be very anxious around unfamiliar people, and because of this, their anxiety can be mistaken for social anxiety or being very shy. Young adults may not want to go away to college and prefer to do it online. Parents with separation anxiety toward their children may be overprotective and controlling. And any parent can be overprotective of their children, but the parent with separation
What?
anxiety
Oh, nothing.
Oh,
anxiety will take on the same overprotective nature with their
Yeah, this kind of
spouse.
reminds me, like, yeah, I got like this kind of reminds me when she said parents can be overprotective. Like my mom, when I was a child, she was a little bit overprotective of me too, like, and maybe that's why I grew up with separation anxieties because my mom was overprotective of me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's better to have an overprotective parent than a parent that doesn't protect at all, though.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that usually doesn't go over very well. Researchers have found a relationship between separation anxiety and anxious attachment style. I talk about insecure attachments in this video. You can develop separation anxiety after a traumatic or stressful event like someone's death, divorce, or even becoming a parent.
Ooh, that's
And
a.
in this
I think now that she brought that up, now that I think about it, I think my separation anxiety happened when I was first taken from my mom and put in foster care at the age of 13. Because I remember during that time, I was severely depressed. Like, I remember I would sit out in the driveway at like probably like 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I'll just sit there in silence and just stare at the sky because that's how depressed I was. Like,
Mm,
that, and I was that depressed because I was missing my mom. Like,
yeah,
so I think that like that's probably where my separation anxiety came from.
yeah,
case, you may have had childhood anxiety that went undercover as you got older, but then having a child triggers this intense fear of losing your child. And you develop an anxious attachment to that child that makes you worry about their welfare and overprotect them. Separation anxiety in adults is an underdiagnosed condition, and because of this, we don't have standard treatment protocols for it. And I think the reason for this is that separation anxiety often goes along with other disorders that get more attention, like social anxiety, panic
I think that's
disorder.
enough of that one because she's kind of going off on different stuff. All right, what do you think about that?
well, I can relate to a certain degree because um, I do like being with my fiance. Like when I'm not with her, I do kind of worry about her, but um, I don't think I have it to the degree where I would be diagnosed with it. But I can relate to it on
Yeah,
a certain degree.
yeah. I think, like I said, I think everyone to a certain extent suffers with a little bit of separation anxiety. Like, I don't think anybody can honestly say they don't have any separation anxiety whatsoever. It's just, in my case, and people like me, our separation anxiety goes from like here to way up here in a matter of seconds. Like,
Yeah, to the point it becomes physical.
yeah, exactly to the point where it becomes physical.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my separation anxiety has gotten better, and I think your ADHD has gotten better too, right?
I don't know. To me, it's like about the same. I mean, I can control it more now that I know what's going on, and I know what to look out for and how to stop it from like getting too out of hand. But I guess so on that aspect, it's gotten better. But my memory is not getting any better. So
Remember, it's not getting better. Oh, that makes sense. But you're able to control your ADHD a little bit better though.
yeah, because I can tell when my mind is going to another track, and I need to like focus on what's been going on and
What?
try to
Okay,
stop it.
so here's a question: like, what helps you focus your mind when your brain is going off track?
I just got to realize and stop myself and then just shut up and like tell myself, okay, focus and go ahead and try to pay attention to what's going on. And,
Yeah, that makes sense. I think for me, what helps me focus on feeling anxiety over missing someone, I just kind of what helps me is pray for the person when they leave. I pray for their safety. Like that helps me. That keeps me calm that and like reading a book, taking my mind off the situation. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
there is two other videos, but we're already at an hour and 14 minutes. So I was thinking we can review those two other videos, not next week, but the Thursday after next week. How does that sound?
Why not?
All right, like I want to say thank you for. Oh, by the way, Anthony Green says, "What's up, brothers? What's up,
You know,
Anthony?" Yeah, and Chuck Ward says, "Greetings from the People's Republic of New Jersey."
How you doing, Chuck?
Yeah, how you doing, Chuck? And Ryder and Mrs. Sarche says hello. Hello.
Hello.
Um, yeah, so thank you for watching. For everyone who watched this live stream, thank you for watching this. Please leave a like, share this video with someone that you want us to see this message or see this video. I mean, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. That really helps the channel a lot. And thank you, Joe, for joining me for another good show.
You're
I
welcome.
want to Yeah, thank you. I want to say to the viewers, whether you're watching the playback to this or you watch this live, if you've been blessed by the Christ Center Mental Health Ministry, please consider supporting the ministry either through Patreon, Venmo, or Cash App. For $5 or more pledges on Patreon or a one-time donation of $10 or more on Cash App or Venmo, I'll send you a few copies of my books as a token of my gratification. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good night and stay strong in the Lord.
Amen.